This is NDTV. And you're watching Ndtv-Hindu.
Good evening, this is Headlines Now on Ndtv-Hindu. I'm Evelyn Matthew. If you were one of those who started today with transport blues, well, it was the result of a bus strike by the trade unions in the city. But the Commissioner of Chennai Police joins us tonight to reassure that we will not see violent attacks on buses like some areas witnessed today. But whether a strike like that will recur, well, we'll have to wait till the 1st of February to really find out. While Mr. Rajendran joins us tonight, his special teams have been able to crack the vandalism case of a Buddhist center in his own neighborhood. In fact, our crime reporter Salim joins us all the way from our Hindu studios with all of those details. Before we get them talking on the show tonight, a look at our top stories. Top cop R. Nataraj moves the Central Administrative Tribunal against Latika Saran's appointment as the DGP. The government will now have to respond. The BJP in the state will go it alone as of now, but its fight against the ruling government on all fronts will continue.
We are strengthening our party to face the elections on our own.
The bus strike by the trade unions in the city comes to an end, but a deadline has been set for the government for a final revision of their wages. 2 days after the Sri Lankan High Commissioner's visit, the city police nails down the 7 accused in the attacks. Scores of the fishermen community are enraged over their slain brethren. They protest against the Lankan Navy for their alleged killings. Pamper yourself with the 3G treat that's heading Chennai-wards. It's not going to be too heavy on your purse.
Entertainment, mobile internet, social networking, browsing, and of course all other enabled non-voice and data services. 3G is really what would become a key driver.
And it's raining awards and honours for the Mozart of Madras. A.R. Rahman is conferred with the Crystal Award at Davos. A quick look at our national stories before we move into the stories in detail. Government sources tell NDTV CVC PJ Thomas has to resign on a day when the government finds itself in a fresh controversy. The government on the mat again on the black money issue. While BJP says the government is evasive, the Supreme Court asks what action has been taken. Good economics isn't necessarily good politics. The oil minister says decontrol isn't politically feasible. Eden Gardens out of World Cup race. The India-England match is shifted to Bangalore. And the Australian Open loses its sheen with both the top seeds crushing out. On to our top story. Top cop R. Nataraj has once again moved on the issue of the appointment of the DGP. This time he has filed a complaint with the Central Administrative Tribunal against the appointment order of Latika Saran as the DGP. The government has to respond to the tribunal now within 2 weeks. Just to bring you up to speed with what had transpired earlier, this is the second time that Nataraj has acted on this issue. He had approached the Madras High Court earlier. The court had at that time recommended to the state government that a list of 5 names be drawn up and sent to the UPSC, out of which 3 would be shortlisted. This was done and Latika Saran was reappointed as the Director General of Police by the state government in November. Now, in his petition to the tribunal, Nataraj has said that he is her senior and that his name was on top of the UPSC list, and that he has also 3 meritorious medals against her too, and that he has also headed a department independently. The ball is now in the court of the state government. Ms. Saran is, remember, the first person to be appointed DGP in the country through the panel of and the process of empanelment of the UPSC. Now, the day-long strike by the trade union workers working with the bus services has finally come to an end. At least 25% of the buses in the city stepped on their brakes for a strike today. But the unionists convened a meeting this evening and decided to withdraw the strike finally. They have decided, though, that if the government does not review their pay hike before the 1st of February, they will hit the streets again. The strike is to ask for a revision of the pay scale on par with the Electricity Board employees. Let's in fact bring up some of those scenes of protest that we saw in different parts of our city today that was being scanned by our reporters on the ground. First up is Vadapalani Depot, which did see quite a heavy police deployment. 125 buses out of the usual 171 only plied the streets. The scene was, however, no different at the Coimbatore or the CMBT terminus. There you go, one of the most important bus terminals in the city. The queues were long and commuters were an impatient lot. Another major area in the city, the Ananagar bus stand too, wore a rather empty look with few buses plying. Several protesters said they were being cheated and that their dues were not given to them rightly. Let's in fact just bring in the Commissioner of Police, Greater Chennai, Mr. T. Rajendran, who joins us live right now this evening. Thanks very much once again, sir, for joining us. First off, we did hear that there were stray incidents of stone pelting that were reported from a few areas. As far as the impact of the strike goes, what have you been hearing from your force?
There was absolutely no impact. It was normal, except for some stray cases of stone pelting, which was swiftly brought under control. And we'll be arresting the culprits also very shortly.
Now that this has happened, and to make sure that something like this does not recur, how will you handle the miscreants? How will they be really dealt with?
They'll be dealt with according to law. We'll register cases, and under the PPD Act, we'll be arresting them.
Right, but more specifically, what action will be taken against the picketers?
See, even early morning, much before dawn, there were some demonstrations in front of certain depots, but they were handled very tactfully and there was no untoward incident. And there were certain other areas where we thought there might be some problems. That is why we had to deploy heavy police bandobast, and fortunately there was no incident or any problem there.
Right. Thanks very much indeed, sir, for joining us live on Headlines Now. Well, in fact, there's been another development from Mr. T. Rajendran's department. The men who vandalized the Buddhist center in the city 3 nights back have been hunted down by the city police. In the attacks, 4 monks were injured and the center damaged. This was, remember, just a few meters away from the police commissioner's office in Egmore area. The Sri Lankan High Commissioner also flew down to the city from the capital post these attacks to visit the injured Buddhist monks at the Mahabodhi Society. Let's just bring in our crime reporter Salim, who's been gathering more details on how the police has been tracking and narrowing down on these attackers, offenders. Salim, how have the police really been able to narrow down on these men specifically? What evidence did they really have against them?
Evelyn, the police say that they have some specific evidence, and especially they have a CCTV footage, a camera that was installed straight opposite to the Mahabodhi Society. The camera which is installed in a hotel played a very major role, because the entire attack was recorded in the hard disk of the CCTV camera, and the police say that it's a vital evidence. Apart from that, the police also acted on the intelligence inputs, as well as the people who were witness at the spot came to the police and they revealed what exactly happened on the 24th of this month, and the police say that they were able to zero in on the members of the Periyar Dravida Kazhagam. 7 of them were produced before the Egmore court, and in fact briefly the advocates staged a demonstration against the arrest of these 7 men, and all these 7 men were produced before the Egmore court and were lodged at the Podal prison. Evelyn?
Right. Thanks very much indeed, Salim, for joining us with those details. Clearly a CCTV there coming in handy for the city police and tracking them down and make sure that they're left behind bars. Now, these were reports and these attacks were really triggered in retaliation to the killings of the Indian fishermen allegedly by the Sri Lankan Navy. The cries over the inhuman killing now has only gotten louder. After a show of sympathy by the AIADMK Supremo, Ms. J. Lalita, at Nagapattinam district yesterday, protests are now taking place across different districts of the state. The fishing community has been protesting over the case of the slain fishermen in districts like Thanjavur, Pudukkottai and Nagapattinam. In Vedaranyam, in fact, over 400 fishermen protested for about 2 hours. Back here in the city as well, 50 fishermen took to the streets in front of the All India Radio office, voicing their anger and rage over the issue. This is headlines now on Ndtv-Hindu. Up ahead on the bulletin, make way for the Lord of the Waves to hit you. The magical click of a button unleashes in Chennai starting today. That's coming up in just a while.